I rolled credits on Starfield. And let me just come out and say, full context, my playthrough was sub 20 hours, which is very short for a Bethesda game. Like, I acknowledge this. I played the game, I think the strength with a Bethesda game or any open world RPG, it often lies in the side quests. However, I looked at the October release schedule and I thought, you know what, I need to finish Starfield. I will never get back to it, or it'll be really difficult to get back into it, in November, December, whenever in future, because there's just too many games coming out. Like, to recap, there's Assassin's Creed, there's Spider-Man 2, there's a new Mario, there's Alan Wake 2, and there's some indie gems, like Cocoon dropped, which was not at all on my radar. Now I want to play that. So just that context, just if you're wondering, why would you speedrun, quote unquote speedrun Starfield, that's why. All that said though, I had a really great time with this game. Like, I mainlined a lot of it, but I did do some side quests, and I think it definitely has that Bethesda charm, for better or worse. Like, there are good things and bad things about this game, but I had a great time overall, and I now know what the big aha twist is that everyone raved about when initial reviews dropped. I mean, I think you know this. Everyone who's read a review knows that many people are like, when you reach endgame, like, oh my God, that changes things. And seeing it now, like, maybe some people will see that twist and roll their eyes and carry on with their life. But looking at that twist now, I'm like, that's not at all what I expected. And I almost feel like, cool, I've had my first playthrough. I have to come back to this game in future. And I'll leave it there purely because I don't want to get into spoilers, because then I think it is a neat twist worth figuring out for people who are still playing the game. But yeah, so I'm getting long in the tooth here, but overall, I think Starfield's a great game, but it is a flawed game. There are things with this game that really frustrate me. So just right out the gates, we've spoken about it before. And again, if you know me as a gamer, I think as far as being a critic goes, I'm actually very seldom critical. I'll nitpick in games, but I don't come down hard on them. The last thing I would typically criticize is something that is immersion breaking, because that's just the kind of game I am. But the load screens in Starfield are real frustrating. I've told the stories to so many different people this week that I've spoken to about the game after I've said I finished it. But if you don't know, if you want to fast travel somewhere, you can't just open up your map and go, I'm going to go to that planet. It's no, you need to. Oh, you can if you've been to that planet. But if you're doing a quest thing, for example, you need to go to a new star system and a new planet, you have to get on your ship, which is a load screen. You need to open up the map, get to that star system, which is another load screen. And only when you're there in that star system can you scan the planet and then load screen to land on that planet. And because I was going through the game pretty quickly, that was very, I was very aware of how broken up the gameplay is with load screens, and it's just it's weird that that's a thing in 2023. It's actually, and I never thought about it, but chatting to one of my colleagues, he mentioned maybe it's because they were catering for the Series S, and I never thought about that. Maybe that is a concession. Maybe I don't know. I have no actual proof, but maybe it was a thing of it's a combination of that and the fact that maybe Bethesda's engine is just very old at this stage.
I think I don't think that's a console limitation. I think that's more an engine.
Do you think
limitation.
It's an engine limitation?
The engine was built in a specific way to stream assets in a specific way and can only do that. I don't think the performance gulf between the two consoles determines whether you can only fast travel between points or do a No Man's Sky and land directly on a planet. That's a design decision that happens way early in the game. Yeah.
But so that's just one of my criticisms. And then obviously there's the Bethesda bugs. But at this stage, if you've played, I don't know, any Elder Scrolls or Fallout, you almost go in knowing that that's part of the charm of the game. One of my favorites was I walked into, and this is again goes to the load screen. I walked into a store, I load screened into a single store to buy something, turned around, and my companion at the time was standing perpendicular to the floor with their feet stuck to the door, and it was hilarious, just floating.
Just like that. Just like, oh my God. It's amazing.
Where if it was any other game, I'd be like, this is unacceptable. But I was like, it's a Bethesda game. This is hilarious.
Also, the idea that you have to load into a single room is I've played Fallout. That's how Fallout works. It's like every fucking room you go is like, cool. No, this is a load screen.
But I suppose let me just bring it back for those of you who don't know. Starfield is Bethesda's latest game, made by the people who have made Fallout and Elder Scrolls and those RPG games for decades now. I think this was a very ambitious game because for the first time, it wasn't a medieval setting or, the real life Fallout, a nuclear Fallout setting. It was like, no, we're going to let you space travel between solar systems. I mean, and this game's been cooking for many years, so very ambitious.
Long time, yeah.
Very high expectations as well. I don't know if they've been met. But yeah, the basic premise is you are a random person who stumbles upon an artifact which, I don't know, gives you not necessarily a vision, but something happens when you touch it, and it kicks off this whole story of you joining the game's core
Constellation.
Yeah, game's core faction called Constellation, who's like their whole objective is like exploration, and they want to find more of these artifacts. So that's like the main thread of the game is you helping them find these artifacts. What you choose to do between getting those artifacts is completely up to you. And this is where I really do take my hats off to Bethesda, because you're never going to play one of the games and not have anything to do. And I think Starfield, they, for better or worse, they spared no expense when it comes to side quests and factions and just the good immersive stuff that you'd want from an RPG. Some of my favorite moments, again, I mainline the game, I've done a handful of side quests, but I think some of my favorite moments are those side quests that I chose to engage with. For example, I jumped into a new solar system, and then the moment I arrived, I got a distress call from the planet's surface. I was like, oh, I can afford a detour, and then ended up going to this planet doing a whole side quest. I was like, that is really cool. Completely, it felt organic. It was just me going off the beaten path. And the few that I did, I was like, I really need to come back to this game. New Game Plus aside, there's a lot of interesting side stories within this huge universe that they've put together. And it's amazing that there's that level of you can talk to so many people in this game, and chances are they're going to give you a side quest. I was joking, I was chatting to some friends yesterday saying, when you open the map, I think typically you would open a map and there's a whole lot of exclamation marks, oh my God, there's so many side quests to go to. Starfield's map isn't that. You don't know who's, unless I'm navigating it wrong, but you don't know who's got a side quest for you, whatever. You just talk to people and you end up unlocking these stories. But to the level of, I spoke to a random janitor in New Atlantis. I was like, oh, it's a whole side quest here. I spoke
Counterpoint, it's because the map is very, very, very bad.
The map is very bad. You're 100% right. I hate that map. But it only
the surface map is terrible.
It's garbage. Terrible. But it dawned on me yesterday that there's no exclamation marks or anything on it, and I was like, that's interesting, because at no point did I struggle to find a side quest or anything. It's everyone I spoke to had something for me to do, and I think just the level of detail that Bethesda put into that side, I really do take my hats off to them. And then again, not with any spoilers, but post game stuff, I'm I don't know how they manage all of this content, how they keep it cohesive. I'm sure speedrunners are going to have a field day breaking this game, but how do they keep the average gamer from not exploiting X or Y or Z? I don't know. I'm sure that there are gaps, but there's the fact that they have made this massive game with, again, if you don't know, you can explore literally more than, I think it's about 1,000 planets, give or take. That's what it says in the box. And I mean, that you think, oh my God, 1,000 planets, I can go walk on 1,000 different surfaces. You can. It doesn't mean that there's literally a whole planet to explore. But the fact that they've put that much effort and detail into, making it feel like you're a person in space, you can literally go anywhere. Like, it's very ambitious. Like, whether they've pulled it off or not, I think overall I've enjoyed the game, but there are definitely hiccups that I did not like.
Yeah. I've kind of not continued playing. I just came to the conclusion that I was not having a ton of fun with it. And like you pointed out earlier, there's like so much stuff coming and so much stuff still on the backlog that I just can't justify like spending hours and hours on something that's not engaging me. I think a lot of that had to do with the exploration. It's just like you said, the fast traveling between areas and the whole disjointed nature. It felt like I was fast traveling 90% of the time. That was the gameplay. Fast travel, fight.
Yeah.
Mission complete, fast travel all the way back.
To like talk to a person.
Yeah.
You know what would have
Exactly,
fixed that? I thought about it. This game is set in the future. We've got space travel, but at no point do you have like radio transmissions, for example.
Yeah.
Which,
it's the same nonsense that's been in RPGs for so long now.
But it dawned on me the other day. I'm like, in terms of setting, like, why can't I just get on the radio with whoever gave me the quest and be like, hey, like I collected the 5 space rocks you wanted, whatever it is. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It just
it's
weird.
It's really, really weird. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was a matter of like expectations not being met or just, again, I've liked Bethesda RPGs, with their faults. I love Fallout, but I think even with Starfield and its like interesting setting, it like looks really good. I think they've got a really good sort of take on like realistic quote unquote space exploration. I just think it's still a very sterile and boring world to kind of explore. And I think a lot of those barren planets, like I know they are meant to be barren because like, how much shit can be on the moon, for example. But like at the same time, there are still people there that give you these side quests, and the side quests amount to walk in that direction for fucking 5 minutes or 10 minutes because you don't have a car, you don't have anything. Get there, speak to someone, walk back, and it's just like, what? Like, I'd rather just not do any of this.
Yeah, even on that, like I did think, again, the game has limitations, but like at no point, unless I'm in space, can I be in my ship flying along a planet's surface. You just can't do that.
You can't do anything. The only thing you can do in your ship is dogfights.
Yeah.
Which seems like a very reductive like experience compared to the one that I'm not saying that they lied about what they were going to have. It's just when they presented it in a way of like, your spaceship is an extension of yourself and is like such this big thing, when in actuality all it is you either hovering above a planet or you're shooting at the ships. That is the literal, and your ship is like a big inventory hub. That's it. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird, and I'm straight up like disappointed by it. So yeah, I don't know if I'll come back to it.
It is weird though, because like I don't know. It's a thing of like I had a good experience. I think in terms of the story, like I thought it was actually very engaging. The reason like why Earth is the way it is, and how that humanity discovered space travel and like it's very interesting. Like stuff. As I got closer to rolling credits, the more that stuff was revealed, and I was like, oh man, like I'm very, very keen to find out like what happened here, and it is very interesting. Like I thought, someone who's not like, I like Star Wars, but I'm not a big sci-fi nerd in that. Space travel and science and like, but this was very, to me, engaging. But in the same breath, like, its story aside, I think when it comes to this whole huge ambitious thing of like, wow, 1,000 planets, it's weird to me that I almost feel that they should have focused on like 2 or 3 solar systems, because even that, you've got 2-3 big playgrounds you could have like made the story play out in, across different planets, whatever. But now you've gone and made like, oh yeah, there's like 1,000 planets, you can land on all of them, and then you have to struggle to, do something on every one, even if it is just one side quest or whatever. But then you see, like I see the the hiccups where there's a planet which, not a spoiler, but like it kind of looks like Cyberpunk. Like it's meant to be this neon.
I've seen the city. Yeah.
And just walking to that city and then thinking back to Cyberpunk I played 2 years ago, and like I know they're two completely different games, and Cyberpunk is just one aesthetic. You know what I mean? But putting them side by side, it's like, oof, like this does not look good. Like it looks like a game from 10 years ago. It doesn't feel.
I mean, there's that video going around that is kind of like detailing your point very, very astutely. Like you put Starfield and Cyberpunk side by side, just in terms of not even just visually, but like in terms of how you explore that open world and everything. And it's just like Cyberpunk looks like a game from this year.
Yes.
And Starfield looks like a game from a couple of years ago, which is bizarre because Cyberpunk is actually 3 years old.
Yeah.
Like the expansion didn't change the fundamental makeup of that world. Like,
but that's what I'm saying though. It's just weird when you like Starfield's fun. I enjoy the game, but when you put it side by side with the Cyberpunk, it's like, oof.
No, it's night and day difference. Yeah,
especially with that particular planet, where it's like this is meant to be like a Cyberpunk-esque setting, and then you look at it, you're like, oh, it just doesn't look as good. Like,
and this is a great argument for quality over quantity because yes, Starfield's world is dramatically larger than Cyberpunk's, no doubt. Yeah. But Cyberpunk's world is richer and more interesting to explore. And this is coming from someone who doesn't particularly like Cyberpunk. Like I still haven't finished that game because it hasn't like captured my interest. But I 100% prefer exploring that world than I do Starfield's, because Starfield's doesn't even feel like exploration. It just feels like hopping between little small hubs that aren't that interesting.
Look, I think if you wanna play the game like that, like you will get gamers who will go planet by planet, tick it off and whatever. And like the game, I think is flexible enough that you can do that. I mean, it's Bethesda. You don't have to do the main quest. You can just join.
That's true.
You can just join the space pirates and go farm every planet if you want to.
And anecdotally, I've heard that a lot of those faction quests are some of the best in the game. But again, I ask like, why reserve some of your best stuff for
the
stuff
side content
on the side when and your main stuff is like really boring? So
I don't know, like talking about it, like I feel like it's a mixed bag, but like my big take was that I did enjoy the game. I think the story is worth playing, and the new game plus is interesting. Like it's, I don't know any other game that has done something like this before. I could be wrong. Like I haven't played every damn game on the planet, but it
why
is
not,
like,
Matthew? Jesus.
I mean, I've tried, but it is incentive to replay the game. Yeah, and Starfield is a first-party Xbox title. It is on Game Pass, so it's like a no-brainer. If you want to try it out, like grab a month of Game Pass. It's dirt cheap.
That's the beauty of Game Pass, is you can just give this a go and a few hours in be like, nah, this is not for me.
Yeah.
That's cool. And it seems that sales figures for Starfield are kind of crazy. So it's not like Bethesda has got like whether this has the tooth or the long tooth of like a Skyrim, I highly doubt that.
10 years from now, they're like Starfield coming to the Switch too. Like, coming to your printer.
I just don't think it's grabbed people in the same way. But then again, neither did Fallout 4. So
look, it is a good game, but it feels very dated for 2023. I think that's all I'll leave
which
you
is with. Which is kind of a bummer considering how long they took on it. To come out with this, like, this is our big new showcase of our, new updated engine, and it already feels old, doesn't bode well for the future of their games.
No. But we'll see.